to me, and then we'll pan to Rocco, and then Brandon, and Rich. And...
5.
Okay. No, let's start. Wait.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
ready.
just
You
go
know what?
for it.
Give us
Go
a
for it.
countdown.
Just go
Go
for it.
3, 2, 1. That's perfect.
Okay. You may have to edit. I got off.
No, don't worry about it. I will take care of it.
3, 2, 1. You're on.
Okay, this is the segment we've all been waiting for. This week, early in the week, we lost Stan Lee, who was a true legend. Did a lot of great things, and a lot of our staff members. This is a little more on Stan Lee. He certainly had an impact for decades on comics, and he created so many amazing characters. So that's really the main topic of our show tonight.
Right.
And we're going to have a lot of conversation, and we hope our tribute to Stan Lee does justice. So we're going to start with Rocco Pasafume. And Rocco, what are your thoughts on the legacy and the passing of the great Stan Lee?
To really think about the legacy of Stan Lee, you have to think about his impact on comics first and foremost. The fact that before Stan Lee, comics usually were considered for children. Comics the characters were considered like these perfect godlike figures, and like I said, it was mostly a children's medium. But what Stan Lee brought to it was characters that were more human, characters that were more, like they had personality conflicts. Like the first work of his first successful work was Fantastic Four. About it was a superhero team. Most superhero teams at the time, got along, but these four they were combative. They had, they sparred with one another verbally often. So that was sort of his first, major impact on comics. The second thing was Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Brandon over here is a giant Spider-Man fan. I like Spider-Man too. But no, that was the premiere issue of Spider-Man. That was what changed Marvel forever, and that really put it on the map. Spider-Man was a teenage boy. He, you knew about his personal problems as a teenager. There was a human element to Spider-Man beyond just being this super powerful figure with really cool villains. And Stan Lee made a further impact too. He made the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, which was, took the superhero in a different dynamic, more in the way of a monster, a freak, a scientific accident. And, that was something that was not really seen in comics at the time. He planted the seeds of other characters that kind of, over time, got more developed, and really were brought into fruition later. People like Iron Man, and also the X-Men, and also, particularly in more recent years, Black Panther. He was the one who planted the first planted the seed of Black Panther. So, and then also what he brought to movies is, he's responsible pretty much for why you have, so many superhero movies. Marvel became a film studio, so now they're responsible for some of the major movies that have come out in the last couple of years. So much of entertainment in cinema has been based on superhero movies, so they really pretty much are the dominating force in, what is popular now in cinema. So I'm going to take it over to Brandon, and he can help fill any gaps that maybe I not have really brought out.
All right, thank you, Rocco. So right now I have my Star Trek hat for my usual segment, Stargazer. I'm going to actually take that off right now. And I have the perfect hat for tonight. Spider-Man, cue that music. Okay, so in all seriousness though, when I heard about Stan Lee, I was honestly devastated. I felt like I lost a family member because he honestly had such a tremendous impact on my life personally. His work has touched me and so many other people, not just geeks, average people who maybe want to see a good movie. A lot of the movies, as Rocco said, that we have out today happen to be
from Marvel
superhero movies, and they're great, but that's a story for another day. Now, what made Stan Lee so impactful is, again, how he made his characters so relatable. If you look at comic books before his time, like really working with Marvel during the 60s, it was pretty cookie cutter. I wouldn't say bad, but pretty simple. Every hero was someone you'd strive to be, sort of godly. And now with Stan Lee, later he was doing comics for a while, and he got a little tired out. So he was considering quitting the business, and he spoke to his wife, and his wife said, "You know what? Make one more comic, do it however you want, and what's the worst they could do? Fire you when you want to quit anyway?"
Right.
So he actually did it, and that brought us the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Which is pretty much sort of taking inspiration from DC's Justice League, where you had a group of superheroes together. But these superheroes, as Rocco said, I keep on repeating your points, but I'm elaborating a little bit.
No, of course.
They bicker. They fight. They're humans. They're not necessarily happy with their powers. The Thing is a rock monster. He doesn't want to be a rock monster. I don't want to be a rock monster.
Yeah.
I guess Rocco is a rock monster, so I mean it's in the name, right?
In some sense, yeah.
And pretty much something that he became really known for, that really shaped everything, was his work on Spider-Man. I have this comic here from Amazing Fantasy number 15.
Yep.
Now this comic book really was special for the fact that it brought a teenager, like an average guy, and made him a superhero. Someone that would struggle with his social life, his romantic life, his job, and really work as well as Spider-Man. No other comic creator asked, what is Batman? How is Batman's life outside of being Batman?
Right.
They dabbled upon that, but the main force behind Spider-Man was his life as Peter Parker. That's what made it so interesting. To a point, his life as a superhero almost became like a sideline to his actual real life.
Yes.
That's what made the comics so interesting.
Yes.
I actually have some more comics I'm going to show you.
Yeah,
I went
go
nuts
for it.
today, so give me 1 second. This is my personal favorite, not made by Stan Lee, but endorsed. This kind of shows a more serious side to, I guess, comics and what he brought to the table. Now, originally with comic books, they were, again, cookie cutter. There was a comic book code, but he actually sort of broke that code and made comics a bit more mature. This comic takes a classic villain, the Green Goblin, who was originally Norman Osborn. He died, and his son took the mantle, and it shows his I guess the Green Goblin's relationship with Peter Parker and his wife Mary Jane, and it's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally see without the help of Stan Lee. I'll show you a little bit more because I'm a nerd and I'm proud of what I have here.
Yeah.
Here's a comic. It's a special 30th anniversary supersized issue.
Cool
Now,
hologram.
Oh, it's very cool. But what makes this interesting, if I were to go inside this comic, it has a little blurb from Stan Lee speaking to the readers. That's something he did that you're not. You
that was a big
normally
impact
didn't
that he
get.
made on comics.
Exactly. So he would actually speak to the readers on a personal level. He would ask, "What do you want for the comics? What do you think about this?" The thing that made Stan Lee so great, besides his actual work writing the stories, is he was a person who loved people. He loved people. It showed in his work, and it showed outside his work. He was such a friendly, eccentric guy. See, I went to Comic-Con back in 2016. Didn't meet the guy, but I saw him jumping around, and the place was lively.
That's
you
infectious.
It was infectious, yeah, exactly. It's nothing you would really get with any sort of celebrity. He was accessible. He was. He was a very kind man. He respected everyone. Right. He promoted equality and just being good to your fellow man.
He made comics like grown up. He made it mature. Like I said, he took something that was perceived as a kid's medium, and he gave it a maturity. He talked about civil rights. X-Men was a bit when he started X-Men. It was a big allegory for civil rights. You know, you looked at people thought that the Professor X was an allegory for Martin Luther King. And they thought that the villain, Magneto, was an allegory for Malcolm X. So he really put a lot of thought into all these different comics that he had. To take the segment further, he had a global impact too, not just in America, but all around the world. In Japan, he brought a lot to... He pretty much created the superhero in Japan. Like, there's a film studio called Toei. They got into television and they started doing superheroes. They did superheroes like Masked Rider and one known as Super Sentai, which of course became known as Power Rangers here in America. And he was an early supporter of the Power Rangers TV series coming out in America. And he actually, early on when this stuff was going on with in Japan with Toei, he brought his own, Marvel brought their own things to it. Like, they had a Spider-Man series in Japan. They also had a team show called Battle Fever J, one of the earlier, Super Sentai shows. It was basically a team version of Captain America with heroes from all over the world. You had a Japanese one, you had a French one. So it had, like it really showed how much Marvel had a big impact on, on the world. Also, you look at Japanese comics, manga. They pretty much, were inspirational for why, Japanese manga is so more mature and it has all these, they have so many different topics in Japanese comics. They have teen dramas, they have sports, they have things that you hardly see in America ever touched on. So Stan Lee was responsible for just taking the comic medium and really putting it in a way that was, just really taking it and making it a more adult medium. And to have, to talk about, because I know that Mayor really loves Power Rangers. Power Rangers is something that is really impactful upon him. Just talk about the idea of how much Stan Lee really made an impact on this aspect of your life that you love so much.
Yeah, I'm like a very big avid Power Rangers fan. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Zeo, SPD, Emergency. I think that Stan Lee was very creative in creating like the future of what superheroes were about, like Power Rangers. I was an extra in a Marvel movie. I was in Captain America: First Avengers. That's how I got with Howie. He met me because of Stan Lee and the creation of jobs for extras and being a part of Captain America: First Avenger, being in other movies and TV shows. I think that what he did is offered a bunch of jobs to other people, which was very amazing. That somebody that can impact not just Captain America, extras, people from Iron Man, people from other movies. Like I said, I was a part of a Marvel movie as an extra, not as a main character, but as an extra, one of the background people in two times in Captain America: First Avenger. Speaking about Power Rangers, that what I really admired to me towards superheroes, he said how DC was more for people who already had superpowers, and how Marvel was more for us type of people that had no superpowers. How Iron Man, he's not a superhero, but he's like us. His bodysuit creates the power. Iron Man, Captain America was a scrawny person in World War II.
Yes.
How when I did the movie Captain America: First Avenger, we all saw him with the bodybuilding after, but when we saw from being inside the movie, being an extra in the movie, it was amazing because one guy created a job for so many of us, and he created what I came to the show, because if it wasn't for Stan Lee, I would not have been part of Halftime Howie. Here's Howie.
That's fantastic.
That's great. And Richard, you too were a big Stan Lee fan. And what aspect touched you the most? What was your favorite Stan Lee?
Definitely the Avengers. The way that he brought all the characters into one film, and he gave them background, he gave them life, and he made it so easy to relate. That's the thing that I love the most about Stan Lee, is that you could relate to these characters so easily. Like with Spider-Man, for example, the teenage angst, teenage revolution. You could relate to how a teenager could have so much, and then on top of that be bitten by a radioactive spider and become Spider-Man. Then you have Captain America, who is just an average guy, wants to be in the military. He wants to serve his country. And he becomes an Avenger, and the first Avenger, might I add, number 1.
Yes.
And that was a huge influence in my life, because it made me realize that anybody could become anything.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you're straight, you're gay, or whether or not you're
You have a
muscular
flaw,
or a full
flaw.
like a flaw. Exactly. It didn't matter if you were flawed. You could be a superhero. And that inspired me so much.
Yes.
And even his artwork, the way that he would make cameos in his own films.
Yes.
That was the one thing I loved so much about Stan Lee, is the fact that he wasn't afraid to show himself on the screen. He wasn't afraid to throw himself into a character, even if it was a small, diminutive little character.
Yeah.
It was a character that stuck with you when you left the movie theater. You would say, "Oh yeah, I saw Stan Lee. He was the security guard. Yeah, he was so cool." You know, it was one of those things about him. He wasn't afraid to play big. And that's the thing I love about Stan Lee, is he was a humble individual, but he was an individual that made it so anyone could be a superhero, anyone could feel like a superhero, and you would leave the movie theater feeling really, really good. That's the thing I loved about Stan Lee, Howie.
Awesome. I want to read from a tribute Daily News did and get you guys' reaction to these words, because I think they really, really profound. It said, Marvel mogul Stan Lee, the comic book genius whose flawed superheroes elevated a children's genre to pop culture phenomenon, minting billions for Hollywood, died Monday in Los Angeles.
Right.
He felt an obligation to his fans to keep creating, his daughter JC said in a statement to Reuters. He loved his life, he loved what he did for a living, his family loved him, and his fans loved him. He was irreplaceable. Actor Chris Evans, who portrayed Captain America and Lee's Avengers universe, mourned the loss on Twitter. There will never be another Stan Lee. For decades, he provided both young and old with adventure, escape, comfort, confidence, inspiration, strength, friendship, and joy. He exuded love and kindness. He will leave an indelible mark on so many lives, Evans tweeted. You give us characters that continue to stand the test of time and evolve with our consciousness. Winston Duke, an actor of this year's $1.3 billion box office behemoth Black Panther, wrote in a tribute tweet. You taught us there are no limits to our future as long as we have access to our imagination, he said. A decade before his death, Lee called his creations fairy tales for grown-ups. Your thoughts?
I think the success behind these characters, it wasn't just Stan Lee. We have to give credit to Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, who helped draw and bring these characters to life. Yes. However, it was Stan Lee who really became the face of Marvel Comics, who really wrote these characters to life. And just, I don't think we'll have anyone else that could truly have that face for Marvel like Stan Lee. He was a kindred spirit. Right. He brought fun to the genre of comics, and he brought seriousness to the comics. A perfect blend that I'm not sure we're going to get again.
That's totally true. I mean, to add on to what his point, I feel like his great legacy is the fact that he took, like I said, a children's medium, and he made it something that was, he not only made it a more mature medium, but he embraced the fact that it was cheesy too. He made it fun. Like he was, he made no bones about the fact that there's aspects to it that's just silly, and he embraced that. I think my favorite thing that he ever did in terms of the many cameos he did over the years was actually not with any of his Marvel movies, but with The Simpsons. He did a cameo on that show where he played himself, but he played like this really obnoxious kind of version of himself, looking like, oh, I'm the big cheese, I'm the king of comics, I'm replacing all the other comics with my own, I'm the king and all that. And then, when he sees a guy, trying to be the Hulk, he's like, I'm the Hulk. And then he tries to actually show people that it's just the fact that he was willing to put himself in this ridiculous scenario, that he's like this kind of pompous individual. I mean, it takes a special kind of personality to embrace that. It really showed that he had this great sense of humor about himself, that he was so willing to be self-deprecating. That's a very admirable quality in any person, and that's what I think made him a great symbol for Marvel with the cameos. And that was like Brandon said, he's a great face for the company.
I think that was a great tribute.
Yes.
Very well said. Spoke from the heart. Maybe want to add one more thing.
Yeah, like I said, this guy created a world for everybody.
Yes.
I mean, DC was more towards feeling like you cannot be a superhero as opposed to Marvel where they use average guys and everybody can be a superhero.
Right.
Anybody can be Captain America, anybody can be Spider-Man, anybody can be whoever they want to be. And because of him, he's made people feel more positive about their life. And what Richard said, anybody can be a superhero. Like I said, I had the greatest fortune to be in one of the movies, Captain America First Avenger, as an extra, because it made me feel like, wow, I had a job and this was a really cool 2-day being on set in Manhattan. And it was really great.
Okay, final words on Stan Lee. We'll go to Brandon Ellis.
Thank you very much. So I guess in conclusion, the best way to really continue Stan Lee's legacy is to support his work. That's what he wanted. He wanted people to have fun with these heroes and take them seriously. And the best example you'll see are these new Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. The comics are still going. The video games are getting good. If you play that Spider-Man PS4 game, I mean, really good. So I think the last thing we could say is his famous catchphrase. So on the count of 3, I think we're all going to say Excelsior. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Ready. 1, 2, 3.
Excelsior!
All right.
All right.
I think I may miss lock on